Welcome everybody. Nice to see you again. Nice to be back. Today is the 17th of April. And I've just had a couple of days off, basically just through tiredness. Not feeling too well, mostly just trying to do too much. Kind of ironic considering that we're all in isolation and staying at home. But the funny thing, hi Ginia, nice to see you. The funny thing for a lot of us artists is it's not really very different. Got the kids around more. Don't go to the shops as much. But I think for a lot of us, we need that. I know I do anyway. You can tell me if you feel the same. I need that solitude. And sometimes I think the only reason I'm a painter is because you get to spend lots of time on your own. So please say hi in the chat if you're watching, and let me know where you're from, where you're watching from, what time it is there, how are you feeling today, and if you can see me and if you can hear me okay, that would be great to hear. I'm going to show you, I'm still working on this same flower painting now for 2 days. Hello Christy, nice to see you from Louisiana. Wow. Yeah. Hello Irene, nice to see you. I'm still working on this flower painting with the daffodils in the old coffee pot, enamel coffee pot. And I haven't been working on it for 2 days. Obviously, I've had 2 days off, which also meant, well, it's not really 2 days off, but 2 days not painting and 2 days not streaming too. Hello, Sophie from Israel. Nice to see you. And Anne from Norway, you're watching me on YouTube today. You were watching me in the Art of Calm group on Facebook, weren't you, the other day, I think. Hello, Manjari, nice to see you. Arbor, wow, look at this, North Carolina. Yeah, I'm feeling much better, thanks, Georgia. Still tired, still a little bit run down, but coming towards the weekend and I couldn't stay away from the easel another day. I get twitchy if I don't paint, I've realised that now. You know, if I have a couple of days without a brush in my hand, it's like something's wrong and I'm wanting to know what to do. Hello Elaine, nice to see you. Hi Steve, hi Olaf. Elizabeth from Canada and Irene from Wisconsin is here, and it's 9 a.m. there. Safe at home, extended to the end of May. Yeah, I think we're all going to be at home for quite a while, aren't we? Let me show you what I've been up to, because I started a little bit earlier this morning. First we'll get the reference up. Before I go any further, let me quickly show you where this music comes from. There we go. I'll bring up the palette. Which you can probably see is basically that's this camera here, which points straight down on my palette. You can see I've already been a bit busy this morning. I'll bring up the photo, the camera on the painting. So it hasn't changed an awful lot, but these lines down here, something was bothering me down here. I got to a stage when I was working on this on Wednesday on the stream, and I was so tired that I wasn't really focused anymore. And I was starting to make a lot of mistakes, and I was painting. You know, if you paint without focus, I think me anyway, I find I start to make a lot of mistakes. And something was off, and I couldn't decide what about this part of the pot, and I think it was mostly just the drawing of the ellipse. And this one is off as well, but I haven't done anything about that. So what I did with this one was I got my ruler out, earlier on today. And I reconstructed the ellipse and repainted it in, and I'm much happier with it now. And what I'm doing now is I'm painting the pot. I also decided that I wanted the lower value around here, which I think overall it fits more nicely with this kind of light over here over to shadow. I think the value balance is better, and I brought down the value of this side of the coffee pot, and also of the spout where it's in shadow. I brought that value down, and instantly when I started working again I could see value problems that I wanted to sort out. So that's what I've mostly been doing. I've probably been on it maybe about half an hour. I started earlier than that, but I was mostly like colour mixing and just thinking about what I wanted to change. Mostly looking at values. So I'm going to finish off the pot and then see what else wants doing. The flowers, unfortunately, have died now. So I can't paint the flowers from life anymore. The stems I can, but not the flowers. So if I want to do any more work on the flowers, then I'm going to have to go back to the photo to see. Thank you, Daphne. Nice to see you too. Hello, Joe. Thank you. Yeah, I will get on be painting. Hi, Judy. Nice to see you. You made it. Yay. Thanks for our chat this morning, by the way. It was wonderful, and I've been thinking a lot about what we talked about. Hello, Diana. Nice to see you. Hi, Susan. Marty's here from South Carolina. Oh, that's interesting, Georgia. Georgia says, I watched one of your streams from 2018 painting apples. You'd rigged up your laptop to show your palette. You were almost giddy. Quite entertaining to watch. You've come a long way with your technology. Yes, I certainly have. Yeah, I used the camera on the laptop, and I had the laptop pitched over so that I could use it as a camera on here. That was when I was just trying to do multi-camera streaming, and I only had one camera then. So yeah, I've come a long way since then. If you could see the setup now, it's got quite sophisticated in comparison. Morning, Cindy. Nice to see you. So I am still quite tired, so I'm just gonna get down and continue painting and just try and focus on finishing off this painting and doing a good job of it. So this whole pot area I want to resolve. I put a darker value here as well. On the palette I've already mixed light and shadow. The reason I have two of each and one in the middle there is I've got high chroma, low chroma, and somewhere in between. And for the shadow side I've got high and low chroma, so I can control, where I want the chroma to be. This is mostly where I've been working. And a little bit on the cloth. So the lightest part, which needs to be, the highest value is the bit that's facing the light, so that's always going to be like here. There's a slight cast shadow of the handle on the pot there. But this is the lightest part, and I often paint my lights thick. And now I can go over these construction lines that I used to rebuild the ellipse. It was looking too good. This is out. Too high chroma there and too high value. See how easy it is to change things. You have colours set up carefully like this. So as soon as I go around to here, then I've got a darker value, so I can mix a little bit between the two. Not that much. That would probably be more like there. It needs to be more subtle than that. This is all still the light. Values want to be really close there. And the light is coming pretty much from the side really, so this is about just a little bit past the midways where it really comes into shadow. just want to see if I'm, just by putting the values down, if I get a, you know, a much better result here. And from here, really, we're really into shadow. The photo, by the way, often happens, I'm not sure why it is, but the photo often looks slightly desaturated compared to the actual setup. I'm not sure why that should be. Much happier with those values now. I need to sort out this ellipse though. This ellipse should be quite a bit shallower than it is at the moment. I've got it too curved. Oh, by the way, before I started today, because all of this area was completely dry, not the flowers, but all of this area, I put a very thin layer of oil on there first to a better surface to paint in, where I can, so I'm basically like I'm painting wet into wet. And I've tried to describe a few times when people have asked me why I put that layer of oil on. I was just chatting this morning to my friend Judy, who's here, and we're talking about that and why I do it. And it basically means that right from the beginning, I put on a layer right at the beginning because it means the whole of the surface of the panel is wet in terms of it has oil on it. Whereas normally, if you're building up a painting without painting into a layer of oil, without painting into a couch, all of the surface is dry until you get paint on it. So you're not painting wet into wet, you're painting wet paint onto a dry surface. Whereas if you put oil over it, the whole thing is wet into wet. So coming back now on, this is the third session I think on this painting. Is it the third? I can't remember. I think it's the third or the fourth. Because a lot of it is dry, I want still to be painting as if I'm painting wet into wet, so a thin layer of oil helps me do that. The little pot is looking happier now. I've got a light and a shadow brush. Big, fat, soft and dry. Just give it a couple to even things out a little bit, not too much. Hello, Heather. Nice to see you. You're very welcome, Gigi. I hope I pronounced your name right. I haven't got my glasses on and I'm a bit of a way. I'm going to have to lean over and have a look. Elizabeth says, when you're away from your painting and you come back, do you redampen with linseed oil directly on the painting before you start again? Yes, you probably put that in before. I was just describing what I was doing, but I would generally not put it on the lights if they're still wet. This was dry because it was very, very thin, so it was okay. And so was this, because I painted very thin paint into a layer of oil right at the beginning of the painting. So, but I was very careful not to get any on here because these are yellows and with titanium white, and they are still wet. Some of this paint is very thick, so if I tried to rub a layer of oil over there, then I would quickly spread out the paint, which I don't want to do. So yes, I'm painting wet into wet again today, which I've done just by putting oil on the thin layer of oil. The other thing about putting oil in the lights is that I would generally only do it on the darker sections because it's another layer of oil, which inevitably means some yellowing as it ages, which will be much less obvious over the darks than it will in the lights. Like if I put a lot of oil over a white area and didn't paint over it, then it would yellow very much over time. So I've been giving some thought to how I can perhaps do these streams, carry on doing them regularly. Basically, I've come to the realization that I've just been doing too much, and I can't stream and teach for like 2 hours a day and keep everything else together as well. So I think what I'm mostly going to do is, I mean, I could do them like less often, maybe every couple of days. But I think I like doing it daily though. I do like that. I like that in this daily thing. So I'm probably just going to, you can tell me if you have any ideas for what might work better, but I'm probably just going to, that's too bushy. Probably just going to keep them shorter. See, the thing about the daily streams is I never really planned to do them as teaching sessions. I just wanted to do it because I was going to be painting anyway. And I've got the setup to do it because I teach online and I teach live a lot. So I really, it just seemed like an obvious and a good thing to do. Just to supply like a moment of calm in the day. But inevitably, with the lights coming up quite a lot, cameras are getting blown out. Inevitably, people ask me questions, which I love, please don't stop, while I'm painting, and then I answer them, and then eventually I just kind of end up teaching, which is great, you know, I don't mind doing it at all, I love doing it. But obviously I can't do it all the time, I can't do it all the time for free, so I've been thinking about how I can keep the streams going, hopefully daily, but without exhausting myself and still providing hopefully a calm space and also something useful and something that can learn from. Teaching is kind of, I think there are some artists who teach because they feel they need to, you know, mostly for, let's say, financial reasons, which is fine, you know. For me, I really, really enjoy teaching. I've been thinking a lot about that too. I mean, I really want to keep the streams going because I've had such amazing response from people, and it's very moving, you know. I'm also thinking about, I'm going to be putting together some more online teaching, because I was going to do some this is just a bit of reflection in the pot there, I'm just picking. I was going to do a lot of in-person workshops this year, and I was on the point of renting a studio for the year to do it. Just as well I didn't. And so now I'm going to move all of that online. I'm thinking about how best to do that. Maybe I'll do some workshops. I might do something which is like a regular thing, a bit like the streams, but a bit more like these streams, but a bit more focused, where I put together an image, teach a bit more deliberately about how I would go about painting it, you know, a photograph of a setup. Maybe something a bit smaller and not so complicated as these. I mean, these basically, what I'm doing at the moment is I'm just, these are the paintings that I'm doing anyway. And I'm just streaming as I'm painting. This is what I would be doing anyway in the studio. Just trying to think through where things are going to be going. Thank you, Jacqueline. Hello, Rhonda from Oklahoma. First time. Welcome to you. Nice to see you. I've been doing these for, I think, about 4 weeks now. If Diane is here, she'd be able to tell me. How long have I been doing it for, Diane? You're much more reliable source than me on how long I've been streaming for every day. But, well, apart from the last 2 days, of course. I think it's about 4 weeks. Yeah, I've been giving some thought to what might be the most useful way for me to do some more online teaching. Oh, wrong value in the wrong place. Bad move. See how that suddenly destroyed the feeling of the form, just getting the wrong value in there. I have to bring that right up. Try just putting a nice thick, see if we can cover it. Yes, good. So I might do some kind of like paint along things like this, but ones that can be done in a single session, video and maybe some live teaching. The nice thing about doing it live is that if you're painting along, you can ask me stuff, which doesn't work so well when you have just a pre-recorded video. It's a lot more closer to like a workshop kind of experience to do it live like this. And I'm thinking about maybe doing like one-off workshops, or having like you know, like some people have Patreon pages, maybe something like that, where you produce some stuff on a regular schedule every month, you know, maybe it's something like that. Nice. Maybe that as well, maybe do both. We'll have to see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to, at some point soon, I'll ask for some feedback. Facebook profile, probably. Try and get some idea of how, if this was going to be like something a bit more structured, like it to be. I am going to need to do shorter streams now, I think, if I'm going to do it without getting too tired. Because I forget, the thing is, when you're painting, I'm sure you know this, you felt this yourself, like when you you're painting away and you get into the zone and you forget, you know. Like I'm often shocked to turn around and realise that I've been streaming live for like 2 hours or something. And you know, it can get a bit tiring. I'm just going to try putting the little highlights back on the spout, because I have a feeling that if I just put these little light highlights back in where they go, that will be pretty much all it needs. And then there's a dark area where the opening of the spout is pointing away from the light. Just soften that a bit too. Because it's all pretty much going back into shadow there anyway, so I think that's it. So if you have any ideas about how you want to do any kind of online learning with me, feel free to either pop a message on my Facebook page, or just in the comments here if you want, or email me if you're on my mailing list. Let me know. I'll try and find something that will work. But don't worry, I do plan to continue doing these streams. because I really enjoy doing them. And it's just, I just feel it's a positive thing to be doing. And for that reason alone, I should keep them. Sorry, I'm aware I'm talking a lot and not checking the comments. I'm just I'm enjoying painting the pot. It's been so nice actually today. As soon as being away for 2 days from the easel, as soon as I started putting the paints out today, felt like just good to be home and painting again. Good to be at my natural home at the easel. Don't know if you can identify with that. I think this down here should probably stand out a bit more. The edge of the cloth. Yes, Elaine says maybe shorter sessions. Thank you for advice from a professional nurse. That's I'm going to listen. And yes, I think I am going to do shorter streams. I do enjoy them a lot, but they can be quite tiring to do, to keep up so regularly, and I really do want to keep doing them regularly. Hello Marcella, thank you. That's wonderful to hear from Waterford. Nice. I've never been out there, but it's I've been to Northern Ireland a couple of times. I've been to Belfast a couple of times, but I've never been to Ireland, and it's the top of my list of places I would like to visit. I don't have a bucket list really, but if I had one, going to Ireland would be near the top. I'd love to go there. 5th week, Diane, surely not. Is it really? That's amazing. Sorry, I'm just catching up with the comments now. Thank you, Irene. Jacqueline says, you're so methodical. Yeah, I am extremely methodical. I think it's like a personality trait, and it's partly because it works when you're painting. I find personally, I'm not a big proponent of, the kind of throw it up there intuition and hope for the best kind of painting. Basically because from personal experience I've found that for me that doesn't work at all. If I try and do that, I make a mess. I do paint increasingly loosely. I don't do a careful finish as much as I used to, but I am very, very careful about what goes where. Especially the value balance. The colours I'm borderline obsessed with, I suppose you could say. I want the hues to be really, really close to what's there. I want the chromas to be good, and the values, I want the relationships to work. value relationships. I'm feeling quite happy about my little pot. There's an area over here there's some argument in the values there that's not quite working. I think that's okay though. And I like the way the spout is disappearing into nothing over here. I love things like that in painting. I think the cast shadow, I've brought down the value a bit here, and that's looking a little bit better now, I think. Thank you, Anne. That's nice to hear. No, Lisa, please don't stop asking questions. I love it when people ask questions. It's like my favourite part in a lot of ways, is when people ask questions and I can talk about what I'm doing. Thank you, Marianne. That's lovely to hear. Lane says, I'll have to paint along while watching the recorded saved video. I'm not that good to do it in real time. Yeah, I do have already a monthly thing called Threads and Artist Community, and we do. Lately, we've been doing paint along exercises, and what I do is I mean, these ones that I'm doing on the streams, these are just the paintings that I do. But for those ones, they're specific, usually exercises, you know, to do with value or painting form or something like that, color mixing and something. And we go at a much slower pace. Oh, that's an interesting point, Elizabeth. He says, I don't like the monthly in American dollars because with our Canadian dollar exchange, it gets too expensive. Oh, right. Also prefer a yearly fee in one go with an online class. No, that's great to hear. Thank you. Yeah, that would make sense, because then if the exchange rate fluctuates, it won't affect you so much, I suppose. Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, while I'm talking and reading comments, I'm also looking at odd little bits here and there that I think I'm almost done with the pot. I think I'm almost done with the painting. I'm just deciding if I'm going to do much more with the flowers and the stems, really. Thank you, Louise. Yes, much better. Thank you, Elaine. Yes. Elizabeth says a lesson with a photograph of a setup and paint along type thing would be nice. Yeah, I'd never really done them until just recently, and they're a lot more effective than I thought they would be. Actually, I'm finding that it works really well. Yes, Elaine, don't worry, I'm going to keep, I mean, at least whilst we're all on lockdown, I'm going to keep streaming as much as I can every day. There might be the odd day I can't make, but I'm just going to keep them a little bit shorter. But I will still be here, yeah. Susan says, yes to a structured workshop. Your design, teaching style seems to resonate with so many folks. Thank you. Yeah, I don't think it's for everybody, the way I paint and the way I teach. I think if you like to wing it a lot more, then you might find the way that I teach a little bit frustrating. It's, as you probably know, I'm largely self-taught, mostly self-taught. I don't think anyone can ever say they're completely self-taught, and obviously I've used a lot of resources that I found online to help me learn. But in a way, it's kind of kept me connected to what it's like to be a learner, and at the beginnings of the journey, and what a struggle that can be. And what I've found works the best, what's the way I've made the most progress, is with exercises which are designed to teach me particular things about light and value, mostly handling and all that. Good morning, Linda from Tennessee. Nice to see you. Susan says, when chroma and value get difficult, does red acetate help? I'm not sure. I've never tried that. I have tried the thing with your phone where you put it up beside your head and then you get a mirror image, like a black mirror. I would think painting red acetate, I wouldn't want to, it would throw the hues out so much, and I suspect that some colours, I think it would change the chromas if you used a red acetate. In fact, I'm sure it would. I would imagine that reds, the chroma of reds would be heightened, and the chroma of some other colours would be reduced. So no, I personally, I think that's probably a bad idea, but I haven't tested it, so I'm not sure. Hello, Lizette from New York. Do you paint your cast shadows on the warm side using lean paint? Oh no, that's a good question, because that's advice a lot of people do. I tend to paint my shadows opaquely. Yes, I generally paint them a bit thinner, but I wouldn't use the word warm. What I'm mostly, effectively you could say they are, but what I'm mostly interested in, because I come at things from a point of view of Munsell, I'm interested in the hue, the chroma and the value. So the hue of this cast shadow here, it's very low chroma, but it's slightly yellow. And the reason it is because I've used this to isolate the colour, because our visual systems are extremely poor at judging colour. That's not what we're evolved for. We're evolved for to stay alive and reproduce. And being able to accurately judge a colour doesn't matter at all for that. So what I do is I isolate them a lot and hold it over. So I'll hold that over the area of the cast shadow. And the Munsell chips really help here, because also I can get a chip out like this, because low chroma colours are difficult to judge, and then hold it like over the over part of the hole, and then hold it over something. So I can hold that over a cast shadow area, you know, and judge and see if I find a match. And that will help you find the hue and the chroma, but not so much the values, because the value range we have in paint is much narrower. So I tend to do that to find the hue. So this cloth, for instance, is a very, very low chroma blue-violet in the lights. The shadows, yes, they are more towards yellow, which you could say is warmer. It is warmer, but you have to think about the lighting conditions, because it's not today, it's overcast today, but for the last few days while I've been painting this, the light has been coming in, natural light from the window, which is blue. The temperature of the light is cool. People do use temperature as a measurement of light, okay? So it's very cool, so it's probably like 6,000 Kelvin or something like that. Which inevitably means that in the shadows, there's reflected light in the shadows in the room, which is bouncing off other things in the room. So it picks up a bit of the hue of those, which are more yellow. You know, generally speaking, it becomes slightly tends towards yellow-orange. So you could say, yes, it's warmer, but it's warmer in this instance, and I'm very keen to find out exactly which direction it's going. So I don't just say, well, what's warmer than this, and I'm going to paint that as my cast shadow. You know, I'm very much looking to try and find out what the hue actually is, and then painting that. I think it gets a much, for me anyway, much more realistic effect, much more of a feeling of depth and light. Judy, you make me laugh. Yes, those strawberry quality streets, and then sellotape the wrappers together. There you go, red acetate. Thank you, Anita. That's really nice. Thank you. Yeah, it's funny actually that since I've done the pot, I'm really wondering how much more needs to be done on this. And part of the reason I'm standing here answering comments and gassing so much is because I'm not sure what to do next. I think it might be done. I think I'm probably going to work on the flowers a little bit. And I changed this earlier on and I'm not happy with it still, so I'm going to paint this stem out just because the direction is undaffodil-like, and I'm going to bring it up here. Because originally it was over here. And it wasn't bad. I wanted something over here coming off the top to balance these over this side, so I'm going to repaint that. And I may do a little bit on the flowers here and there. This bit is bothering me a bit, I think could be better painted. And there's a bit over here, this trumpet here, I would like to do a little bit of detail on. But overall, I'm happy with the values and everything. Oh, Elizabeth says there's an app called Notanizer. Oh, I'll check that out. You can photograph your painting and it will show the values, and you can adjust how many as well. A useful tool. Yeah, that sounds like it'd be interesting to play with. I generally don't, these days, I don't paint the value relationships that I see, and I also believe, I mean, our visual systems are very different, work very differently to cameras. So I would be a little bit concerned that I would be getting closer to a photograph of the thing rather than my own perception of the thing. I mean, our visual systems are, I think sometimes people think that what we see is reality and what we see isn't. It's a mental construct based on, you know, light traveling into our eye, but then it goes through all kinds of transformations, including, you know, our previous experience with visual phenomena and stuff. I mean, it's such a complex thing, seeing. You can't reduce it down that far, I don't think. And actually, what I'm looking for a lot of the time when I'm painting is a value balance which is different. It's not what a camera would show me. It's not what I see. It's what I think is going to make a better painting. So I think it's a really good idea as well. I think tools like that can be really useful, and I'm certainly not down on them at all. But I think it's a really good thing to practice value a lot so that you can manipulate it in the way that you want to, you know, to get an effect that you want. Like the values of the flowers here, from the light to the shadow, I've painted much closer in value. Those values are much closer than they actually are in the real flowers. And that's because the width, the amount of value that I have from the darkest dark to the lightest light in paint is so much more narrow than there is in the subject. So I need to manipulate the values a little bit to try and keep the delicacy of the flowers. But I'll have a look at that, thank you. Yeah, thank you, I'll check it out. Julianne says, do you paint in north light? Pretty much, yeah. I'm very lucky here that the room that I have in our house that I paint in has two pretty large windows that face pretty much north-northwest. So I do get some sunlight right at the end of the day, but most of the time it's fine. It's not free but cheap, no problem. Cheap is fine. It's worth it to play with. Renate says, don't do any more, it's perfect as it is. But what if I could make it better? I don't know. There are a couple of things maybe that are bothering me. That's usually when I'm looking at a painting and I'm trying to decide if it needs any more. It's about that point, but it probably doesn't need much more. Like there's things I could change, like the way that this stem disappears into the cast shadow there where I've painted over it. I actually don't mind that, it's not bothering me at all. But I want to bring these out a bit more. So there's something a bit heavier coming off this side. There's a couple of places in the flowers here I want to bring out this light a bit here, just to balance the composition a bit. This looks a bit clumsy to me, and I think I can paint it a bit better. I want to change that stem, and I want to work a little bit on this trumpet here. But there's not much apart from that really. I think I'm probably pretty much done. I know what you mean. It's always a difficult point when you're near the end of a painting, like how far do I go? And what's the risk that if I keep going that it's going to end up worse than it is at the moment? That is always a risk, you never know. And I'm personally quite surprised that just finishing off the pot today and doing a little bit on the values around here has actually brought it so close to a finish, because it is really almost there now. And I love this pot. I'm gonna, paint some more flowers in it, I'm sure, but the problem I've got now is that all of my daffodils have died. All of the daffodils in the garden have died. Daffodil season is over now. So I got a good 10 or 11 paintings out of them. And now I have to find a new subject. We still have primroses and oxlips, so I can paint some of those. Well, thank you for coming today. It feels like it's been a very short stream, because it has, but it's actually been almost an hour. I'm going to log off now. Diane's a lot of stuff I haven't been getting to, and I haven't been putting my paintings up for auction. So I've got a backlog of about 5 or 6 at the moment. I'll probably be starting to put them up for auction next week. And also some of them I haven't posted finished yet. There's a few that I've finished that I haven't posted. So I'll put all those up as blog posts as well. And that will all be appearing next week. Thank you very much for coming. I hope it was a pleasant experience. Have a wonderful weekend. I won't be streaming over the weekend, but I will see you all on Monday, and I'll be back live again. See you later. Bye.